You're watching NFT Talk with Brick Astley.
GM, welcome to NFT Talk. I'm your host, Brick Astley. The purpose of this talk show is to highlight 101 art on exchange art, and today's guest spreads GM in the mornings, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern, and is a pioneer on the Solana photography scene. Goku NFT, welcome to NFT Talk, exchange art, and I really appreciate you being here today to talk about your work on all the blockchains.
Yeah, man, appreciate you having me. It's rare that I get to dive into my own work, I feel like, instead of just kind of always shining the light back on others. So appreciate the opportunity. And obviously, it's just been great to see your journey in the space and on Solana as well.
Hey, thank you for that. You're a great inspiration of mine in the space. And I've actually learned so much by being a participant in the GM show community. That was the first real Web3 community that with that and the tie-dye ninjas that I've gotten involved with that really embraced actually being there for each other and being community resources. So I really appreciate that and being able to be a part of that. For those that are meeting you for the first time, could you give a little background on yourself, how you came to Web3 and how the GM show got started, as well as what brought your photography to exchange art?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I, before Web3, pretty much all I'd ever done was work in live music and as a stage manager. Well, it didn't start as a stage manager, but just various live music jobs since I was 17. And really thought that was going to be pretty much everything and didn't, I guess since I focused in on it since such an early age, I didn't really have but a select few amount of hobbies, right? And video games being a big part of my life as well, eventually led me to, I guess, meeting the right people, just through traveling around on tour and whatnot, led me to meet so many creative people in New York, right? So many just absolute powerhouses now, looking back at it, Steve Sweatpants, Dave Krugman, J.N. Silva, all these people who I was lucky enough to kind of watch come up. But I was just I don't want to say too late, or it wasn't the right time for me as an artist at that time. So I never really focused too heavily on my art as a craft until I found Web3 through so many of my friends. So it was kind of an interesting paradigm shift to be able to think of myself as more than the person who just builds the stage, right? Actually being someone who goes onto the stage. I had an interesting little bit when I was touring too, where I was a DJ and I was it was another kind of thing in my head. It was playing on that, right? It's the behind the scene, being good at both, the behind the scenes and the on the stage. So it's been something I've been trying to bring into this space a lot is that technical ability, the ability to kind of focus on the building aspect, but then also to get up and, as to be an artist, you have to kind of perform slightly, you have to kind of sell yourself and sell what you're bringing. So kind of bringing those aspects together here in the scene has been just really cool. With the GM show, I kind of jumped in to the space through building Discords, right? It's I was saying, video games were my only thing. So I had been just on Discord for, I guess, since it launched. Ventrilo went down. I was a World of Warcraft addict. Ventrilo went down, and then I found Discord. And really that kind of changed it all for me. I learned more about so many internet communities, met so many subgroups, and when I really kind of, I don't know, something about Discord and the way that those internet communities worked really resonated with me, and never in a million years would I have figured that would become a job path, right? So I jumped on to doing that and found this space through happenstance, basically, and kind of got connected to some others that I had already known, right? I had already known Amos fairly well, but I didn't know him, we weren't that close. We'd only worked in same circles, had kind of real world close acquaintances. Uh, so it's been just an honor to be able to like reconnect with people in a deeper way. Like we always knew that we were friends, but to spend like a couple hours together every day really kind of brings you close. And it started off with no intention at all. It's still we've kind of tried to keep it that way on purpose, is to keep it pretty pure to what the message is. And that's just being a human in the space, right? It's like beyond anything, we're beyond just being artists or whatever, we're human beings. So just to be able to honor all of those different bits, right? We have days where we laugh, we cry, we dig into alpha, we talk about the artistic processes, the full gamut of the spectrum of being human. I think it's important. And it's kind of what, like, both of our art styles and why we kind of really respect each other and respected each other in the past is because we really try to portray that human element and whatever it is, right? Some kind of emotional response, or I don't know. So it's been nice to reconnect. And then through there, we ended up meeting some other amazing people. Obviously, we met Jack and Roller and yourself, and so many other people. And it's never really been about the height or the size of the room or any of that. Like sometimes we have gotten pretty large rooms, but it's really just about like the connection. I feel like it makes me feel so good when people say that like that's the first place that they came and felt comfortable to keep going in their journey in Web3, or that's where they asked a question and now they're comfortable speaking on Twitter Spaces, or the myriad of things that I just this very deep space. Trying to make it seem less intimidating, because it's really not that intimidating. We add all of these blockades. It's like, oh, it's something new. It must be extremely difficult, but really it's the same thing we've been doing, just in a different shape, if you would.
Thank you for that. I want to talk about what brought you to Exchange Art. I want to bring up your collections. I want to talk about how'd you get looped in with Exchange Art?
Yeah, so I started off at around the same time on Solana and ETH. In regards to collecting NFTs, I, like most people, started with not much capital at all, and kind of was like, how do I get used to it? I actually started Ethereum, Solana, and Tezos at the same time, and I collected Tezos NFTs mainly first, and then Solana and ETH, and was just kind of like waiting and trying to find where I was comfortable to put out work. So I put out a couple pieces on ETH, and I found my focus be pulled obviously over towards this Discord creation thing. Wasn't really promoting myself heavily as an artist yet. Was still trying to feel out the waters, dealing with that like quote unquote Instagram trauma, right? I was friends with a lot of people who were massive artists. So it's just like, you're like, oh man, how am I supposed to do this? Like I have Amos who sold a photo for crazy record breaking amounts. It's like, how am I supposed to do this? Just like little of me, but I think that the more I kind of dove into this space, it opened up my mind to more, right? To stop doing that to myself, and to, really challenge myself to put out art that I'm really proud of. So this first collection, I think I'd already put out like 2 pieces on, maybe 3 pieces on ETH. It was kind of in a contemplative period. And I just happened to run into A2K through something or another. I think maybe it was a weekend that I was helping onboard Farouk into to Solana, actually. And just that weekend, I got an influx of people from the Solana ecosystem. And I guess A2K being one of them kind of got into my DMs, and we hit it off on like a personal level, just bullshitting. And he's like, hey, I see that you're a photographer, you release art. It's like, you should try out this platform. And I'm pretty resilient. I'm asking all the hard questions. And he nailed it. Honestly, I ended up like talking with a couple other people from the team. It's like they're very receptive, and like coming from ETH, right? It's like I'd never spoken to OpenSea. I've never really spoken to anyone that's willing to like really listen to my concerns and what I want as an artist. So that was my biggest factor. And then I kind of thought back to the body of work I had, because I everyone has that folder in their mind of the photos that they know. And I thought about this collection, which kind of goes back to what I was saying about being so lucky to travel around to all these places and to now live in New York from growing up in Florida. And, just the perspective shift that I had, I guess. And that's kind of where Moments was born, is like kind of celebrating those little moments in life, right? Like celebrating the moment that you're able to make time stop and freeze in that certain way that a photograph is, right? So all of these photographs, some of them might be a little bit more conceptual, or whatever the case may be, a little bit more abstract, but not one genre study, right? Like Instagram often became like very one genre. It's like sometimes I like to play with light. Sometimes, like, my photos are very much based on my mood. So it was really cool to come across and be able to just tell the broader story of me as a photographer, and do so in a cohesive collection that's across a same story, right? It's like, these are the moments of New York. Same thing with my other collection, Moments, Places, Form, right? I want Moments brand to be a little bit bigger, right? It's like, it doesn't have to just be moments in New York. It can be Moments, Places, Warm. It can be whatever other moments that I decide from my catalog of photos that I want to put together, right? This collection, Moments, Places, Warm, I know for sure is only half done. I have a lot of really amazing photos and stories that I want to get out into the world. And I'm pretty, proud of all these images. They either went on Instagram and just died, or never got posted because I was too afraid of showcasing my work. It's like this one of the feet here is like one of my favorite images I've taken ever. And it's just, one of those happy-go-lucky photos that you're just like, you're not even thinking about it. I was drinking Red Stripes in Jamaica all day, and then you go back and like dump your SD card, and you're like, man, like that was a moment, right? And I think that so many, like, a lot of people have different artistic approaches, right? It's like, mine is very free flowing. Like sometimes I'm very intentional in like, let's say if I'm trying to execute a certain concept, but if I'm not doing that, I'm out here really just trying to immerse in the moments and like creating these miniature concepts in real time, and maybe one day they become something more. So now it's really crazy to see them become something more. It's like, I've always had this idea in my head that my art could be something more, but I think that NFTs, and specifically like pretty much no barrier to just getting on exchange, really allowed me to get that artwork out that I would otherwise have probably not put out, and definitely not put out in the same regard. It's really crazy with Moments in New York. I think it sold out in like, 15 minutes or something on the first drop. And I was just absolutely floored. Like, coming from ETH, it doesn't, I like to say also, it doesn't really matter about time at all. Because I don't think that's going to be the same way. I've had this other piece sitting there for a little while. I've had pieces on ETH sitting there for a while. It doesn't devalue my work at all. But for that to happen so quickly on coming to this new platform, coming to this new blockchain, was really cool. It was cool to see people, like, it was almost me reclaiming that I was an artist. I talked to A2K about that. It's like, I'm using this moment to put my foot down. It's like, I'm not just a community builder. I'm not just someone who builds Discords or advises NFT projects. It's like, I'm an artist. Like that's what got me in here. That's what fires me up inside. That's why I have these visions of like, that people are interested in hearing, because that's part of artistry as well. So I just, I don't know, it's been an honor to be able to be over on Exchange and to be seen that way, to be seen as an artist, and I don't know, very well received.
Can you tell me the story behind, you have this cross-chain drop that occurred. You have a piece on ETH and you have a piece on Solana. Can you tell me about Moments 15?
How can I do something? Because I'm really using like the freedom of Solana, like the cheap minting, the whatever, to really experiment, right? To be able to like push and see what works, what doesn't, and why these chains might not be necessarily compatible, like super compatible yet, as far as like their interoperabilities. I think that the ability to storytell isn't bound to any chain, right? It's not bound to Ethereum. It's not bound to Solana. It's, you know, it's just where you choose to tell your story, whatever tool. So, you know, I named this this image is Push, and Kick lives over on Ethereum, and I really chose to do that to tell the story to my collectors, most and first and foremost. You know, it's like, how can I include both sides of the party in on this drop that is really like an important piece of art for me. It's like two of my, well, actually this image on Solana is my favorite image that I've taken. I think it's just, it makes me feel like a teenager. It was just a day that as a photographer, I'll never forget. You know, it's just like one of those perfect New York days where you're out all day, and things are just clicking, you know? So I just will be forever fond of the memories that brings. And it just, you know, as someone who grew up skateboarding, I don't know, it really, it's a story that I really wanted to tell. And I couldn't think of a better way to bridge my communities, right? I hadn't done an ETH drop in a while. So I was like, how can I literally just, you know, take this concept and tell the story in two different places, like get the concept across in two different places. And, you know, I'm not super techie. I would love to find ways to take that to the next level. Obviously, maybe someday I will, some kind of, you know, again, interoperability, but, you know, really showcasing that my price of my art is the same. You know, I've worked pretty hard at getting my floor prices up on Solana, you know, getting like marketing myself out and getting my collectors from, because if you look at my collector base, a lot of my ETH collectors came over, and I was like, you know what, I can't just be giving discounts on my work, right? It's like, that's not the way I want this to work fully. It's like, I have gotten some amazing new Solana collectors, but it's time to push this bar to where the bar is moving together, right? So I kind of set this as my highest price on both sides. All right. So I'm pushing on. My previous highest sale was 1.42 ETH. So like I wanted to be able to get that gap a little bit closer here, you know, to bring these prices up together, and bring the communities together in a storytelling fashion.
I think it's so great that you're leveraging all the tools available, and you know, the future is multi-chain, and I think you're setting yourself up in a wonderful way for when that interoperability it happens, and that's probably the next catalyst or next step within crypto and NFT market. My question for you, based on this, how do you craft your story for your collection? Like, how do you create the collection or curate the collection and then tell your story within it? If a new artist was trying to curate their collection and is trying to figure out how to tell their story.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I struggled with this a lot when I was first starting, because I lacked vision, right? It's like I didn't fully know what I loved. And I think that just once you can trust what you love, then you're set to win, right? It's like you can't be selling something that you're unsure of, right? You can't be like halfway bullish on yourself, you know? So just when you're going through those images, take time to find what really speaks to you. You know, put them together. I don't even think that, in my opinion, a collection doesn't even have to be all one kind of style of edit or one kind of, you know, place. It can be whatever you would like, you know, as long as you can tell that story and have a reason for telling that story, then I think it doesn't matter, right? You know, like you could, like, I like to think of it like abstract painting, right? Like people literally splash paint on a wall or on a can, and then they're able to say, because I think it's true, because I'm believing that this image represents this feeling, it's true. And I think as photographers, we need to start thinking of our art that way. We need to start taking our art and putting it into the idea, or taking our photos rather, and putting it into the idea that it's fine art, right? So when you go through, just like, I don't know, take care of that and see where your vision brings you. Ask for help and advice. I asked mentors that I look up to for my entire photo career. And I would say also, don't just take photos for NFTs, take photos. And if they become NFTs later, then so be it. But really just put out work that inspires you and that resonates with you. And like, I really look up to the conceptual photographers. And like, oftentimes I'm trying to portray concepts through my imagery, and then I'll add in the rest with my words. But to me, it's really impressive when people can have conceptual photography that's executed all the way just through an image. So like, I think it's all really, use your skill sets too, right? Like, if you're not great with words, then use your imagery. If you're not great with, like, use your strong suits, and then get people around you that can help with the rest. It's like anytime I have collection of photos ready, you already know that I'm asking Amos, you already know that I'm asking like the people who are closest to me and most bullish on me, what they think. And make sure you're around people who are honest with you too. It's like, I want to know if that photo that I'm putting out maybe isn't it, and if someone says that to me, I'm gonna say why. I'm never going to just crumble up the paper, because that's the person I used to be, right? It's like, when someone said that's bad, I would crumble it up, throw it away. What I do then is I go, why do you think that? And then I also ask myself, why do I think it's good? And that's the scale I kind of play. And from there, hopefully something that is concise comes across. It also helps to have your ideas first. Like, if you're going for a specific thing, to write out your thesis first for your collection, right? Write down, I already knew the concept of moments in my head before I had the photos. I had written like pretty much exactly what the about me was. It was just in my iPhone notes for before I decided to come to Exchange. So I was looking at that, and I think that was probably the fastest I've ever moved in all of photography, in all of my photography career, even before Web3, because I had already had this concept ready and it just made sense finally. So, make those concepts, and you don't have to release them immediately. You can build something out and let it sit there, wait for the right time in the market, or wait until you're ready, wait till you have a community that's engaged and listening and paying attention. As an artist, you are so multifaceted that it's just important to take your time.
I think those are some wise words for any artist, whether they're novice or experienced. I want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your backstory with stage management, and then getting in to Web3 with the GM show, the story of capturing moments in New York and moments places warm. Do you have any kind of like advice, final words or final bits of advice for creators that may just be starting out in the space?
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing that I am constantly saying, I feel like, is comparison is the thief of joy. And it really is. And it's unavoidable that you're going to compare. Like, I'm constantly comparing myself, and I shouldn't be. I'm comparing myself to myself sometimes even. And it's like, I find myself, the more I practice freeing myself from that, the better it's going to be. So, get into these spaces, get into these conversations, and really absorb, instead of putting up that wall of comparing and being like, what I'm bringing is so untouchable. Because I think that we all just have so much we can learn and grow with, and so much opportunity to take advantage of. If you're not a vocal person that's super active on Twitter Spaces, because in reality, all of us aren't that person, and that's completely okay. Get involved in some of these group chats, right? Hop in some Discords, hop in some Telegram groups. The supporting that people do on these Twitter spaces, you can do that anywhere. So just find your tribe on the internet, whether you're on Solana, Ethereum, whatever the blockchain may be. Just really like find your tribe of people that uplift you and you can ask questions to, who don't judge you, and from there you're set up for success. Also be patient with yourself. If you really believe in this technology, it doesn't matter about the sale happening in 24 hours or 12 minutes or whatever the case may be. We're here to build for the long term. So put out work at a price point that you're proud of. Obviously look around the market, see what others are doing that you look up to and respect. You don't want to come in and just crazy outprice yourself, but don't disrespect yourself in your process. If you spend a lot of time on that work, put it high, and sell that story. Because like I said, I think that's number one is sell your story. You have to market yourself. You have to put yourself in front of people to get that artwork sold. Just treat yourself well in that process.
I thank you for those words. And one final one: how can viewers catch the GM show? You were talking about being in the spaces, and you've curated one of I think the premier space for Twitter Spaces, and it's definitely one I look forward to, and I put before any other spaces. So how can they get in touch with the GM show or follow along?
I appreciate those words, man. It's just a nice energy exchange, I like to say. The GM show is from 12:05 to we'll say 1:30, 1:30-ish. We kind of go based on the energy, maybe a little shorter. 60 to 90 minutes is how long it runs. And that's every weekday from 12 Eastern to let's call it 1:30 Eastern. And yeah, we just kind of touch on the broad spectrum of topics, right? And more or less the underlying topics are blockchain, art, crypto markets, NFT degeneracy, just being a human being and enjoying lives, bounties, whatever the case may be. So definitely would love to see more people from the Solana community joining in over there. I think that oftentimes people think that the space is only Ethereum, but it's for artists. It's for human beings and creators to come together. So hopefully we can kind of bridge those worlds. And I've noticed more and more that I've had friends from different blockchains coming in together. So hopefully the future becomes more multi-chain through our actions and our conversations.
Maybe the GM show is the catalyst for all the different blockchains to get on it for that interoperability we want so greatly. You'll definitely catch me in the GM show. I can't wait for tomorrow's episode. I always appreciate it. With that being said, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to Mother Earth. If you guys get a chance to go out and do a little bit of trash pickup in a park, a neighborhood, an ocean that you like, Mother Earth would really appreciate it, because without her, none of the crypto, none of the fiat will matter. Always, always GM.